Incoming fire. The sergeant yelled as explosions rocked the ground around us. I ducked behind the remains of a concrete wall, clutching my pulse rifle tightly. The rest of my squad took cover alongside me as enemy beams and projectiles whistled through the air. We were pinned down, outgunned, and outnumbered. The invasion of this planet, which the locals called Draxa 9, was not going according to plan. The Draxans were putting up far more resistance than Alliance Command had anticipated. Now we were cut off from reinforcements, taking heavy casualties. If someone didn't do something soon, there wouldn't be any of us left. I sighted down my rifle scope, spotting a group of Draxan warriors maneuvering up the rubble-strewn street toward us, their chitinous armor glinting in the harsh sunlight. I took a shot, but my beam went wide, the enemy's return fire forcing me back into cover. We had faced tough fights before, but this was rapidly turning into a slaughter. The Draxans were larger and more physically powerful than us, plus they had the home field advantage. My squad was battered and weary, struggling to hold them off. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Private Song get hit, a smoking hole blown through her torso armor. She collapsed without a sound. Then I heard a new battle cry ringing out over the cacophony of weapons fire and explosions. The humans had arrived. A dozen of them stormed up the street toward the Draxan position, firing their massive grenade launchers and flame units as they ran. They wore only light armor unlike us other species, relying on sheer speed and aggression to survive. The Draxans paused, surprised by this new threat, and that delay proved fatal. The human point men crashed into the Draxans' flank in an orgy of fire and steel. Despite being massively outsized, they slammed into the aliens with astounding violence. The harsh bark of their chemically propelled firearms mixed with the wet crunch of bones and the screech of metal blades sinking into chitin. The Draxans wavered, then broke beneath that unrestrained human fury. I watched in awe as the humans overran the enemy position. In seconds, their weapons and bodies slick with alien blood and gore. They had turned the tide through that unique human capacity for controlled savagery, entering a state bordering on berserker rage, yet maintaining crisp fire discipline and tactical coordination. Once their blood was up, nothing could stand before them. We theropods were stronger than the spindly, fragile-looking humans, and often faster too. But we lacked that burning intensity, the sheer will to close with and destroy the enemy no matter the risk or cost. Among all the species' 114 races, which made up the Interstellar Alliance military, only the humans actively relished close combat, where we theropods and other species preferred to kill cleanly from a distance. Humans saw value in looking your foe in the eyes as you ended their life. The pleasure they took from delivering death, personally, was considered disturbing, even taboo among the high-minded elder species. But on a modern battlefield dominated by sophisticated ranged weapons, the humans' talent and tolerance for bloodletting gave them an undeniable edge. With the immediate Draxan threat eliminated, the human sergeant sauntered over to our position, his uniform splattered with fluorescent blue blood. He carried his helmet in the crook of one arm while casually slurping nutrients from a pouch with the other hand. Stepping around the mangled Draxan corpses, he addressed my squad leader. "You Mollies okay over here?" he asked in drawling galactic standard, raising an eyebrow. We bristled a bit at the condescending nickname they'd coined for us. Officially, our two species were military equals, but the humans made it abundantly clear they saw us theropods as lesser warriors compared to them, always ready to prove our valor against the enemies of the Alliance, even if the humans thought it cute. "We're fine," my sergeant replied tersely. "Thanks for the assist. Glad you psychos could make it to the party." Though we resented the humans' arrogance, we couldn't deny their combat prowess. Having them around significantly increased odds of survival. Aw shucks, we just happened to be in the neighborhood. The human grinned, his teeth shockingly white against his dark brown skin, and the grime encrusting his face. He absently wiped a streak of Draxan blood from his cheek, examining the vivid color for a moment before continuing. "Now that my pack has graciously scared off those crab cakes, what say we get down to business, gentlemen? Top brass sent us to pull you ladies out of this mess. Got ourselves a nice cushy LZ setup a few blocks back. Y'all can kick back and let Uncle Jerome handle the real fighting from here on." He laughed while we fumed quietly, but the vulgar human had a point. Our infantry assault into the city had been repelled decisively. We needed to regroup. let the human division spearheading the invasion force take point. There was no shame in admitting that. My sergeant swallowed his pride and signaled acceptance. The humans helped our wounded up and formed a perimeter around us. On the sergeant's signal, we began falling back, leapfrogging each other along the deserted streets. Enemy artillery fire soon began chasing us, but the humans shrugged it off. They lopped along fearlessly, rifles ready, their youthful faces alight with excitement. This was their element. As we reached the extraction zone, a thunderous explosion toppled a nearby building. From the rubble emerged one of the Draxon tank analogs we called snipers, due to their tendency for long-range ambushes. It orientated on us and prepared to fire, bathing our entire squad in targeting lasers. There was no cover, no way to avoid its main gun. I braced helplessly for inevitable death. The young human sergeant next to me, sensing my fear, clapped my shoulder with a reassuring hand. "Don't sweat it, Birdie. I got this." With that, he broke cover, sprinting right at the 15-ton war machine closing on us. The insane human was actually charging the plasma cannon, zeroing in on our position. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. But the human showed no hesitation. Still whooping maniacally, he took something from his belt and flung it at the looming sniper before throwing himself flat. The small object, a shaped charge explosive, I realized, stuck to the sniper's hull. Before the tank could adjust its aim, the charge detonated. It must have hit a weak spot. The explosion tore open delicate equipment underneath the sniper's left sponson. Wreck stabilizers caused the tank to pitch sharply into the rubble, shielding compromised. Secondary explosions rippled from within the stricken vehicle. The human sergeant leapt up instantly, swapping weapons. His railgun barked twice and the sniper's crew hatches blew inward. The vehicle churned back and forth, seeking traction, then lurched upright to expose its vulnerable underside. A final headshot from the human's anti-material rifle detonated the core power plant. The crippled sniper erupted in an orange fireball, burning chunks of hull crashing down around us. I gaped at the human sergeant in astonishment. He'd just taken out an enemy tank single-handed, showing no regard for his own safety. Fighting not as a mere soldier but like a mythical berserker warrior of ancient Terra, he rejoined our withdrawal, face and armor blackened, grinning wildly with exhilaration. My comrades stared uneasily while I reassessed my skepticism toward claims of humanity's battle prowess. This lone human had literally stared down a plasma cannon to protect fellow soldiers not his own kind. Were theropods capable of such selfless valor in battle? Would we throw ourselves into lethal danger on mere faith in our weapons and training? Perhaps the humans were correct about martial skill being a defining measure of civilizational advancement. We finished our battered withdrawal without further incident. The human troops made sure we evacuees boarded our personnel transport safely before they bounded off to re-enter combat. Their apparent joy at returning to battle astonished me, even with mortality rates that would cause mass desertion in any other alliance unit. The human divisions were constantly under strength due to sheer demand across innumerable war zones. As we dropped into orbit, I gazed back at the strife-riven world. The early reports had codenamed Ragnarok after some human myth. Casualty predictions for the campaign were dire, hampered by Draxon tenacity and environmental challenges. Yet Alliance Command believed the system's abundant resources and industry were still worth the anticipated horrific cost. On the nexus below, civilians would die by the millions. Entire cities would burn before the Draxon leadership capitulated. Vast swaths of this planet's ecosystem might never recover from the warfare raging unchecked, but the Draxons would be brought under Alliance control, by any means necessary. And leading that brutal effort would be the human expeditionary forces, reveling in carnage that drove other species to desertion or suicide, willingly absorbing losses no other army could endure, driven by an innate hunger for battle, matching the Draxon's own violent nature. To me, the entire war seemed tragically insane, but Command knew exactly who they needed to get this hellish job done. We'd conquered stars and galaxies to eradicate existential threats before they reached Alliance homeworlds. If Ragnarok was the price of continued prosperity, the politicians and generals accepted that bargain. Let the Draxons choke on humanity's love of war. Glad to retreat from this brink of the abyss, I left the Crimson world and its feral human defenders behind. Men and women who lived to destroy, loving all the dark splendors of combat, unfettered by morality, unrestrained in dealing death. Truly, humanity fought not for notions of battlefield courage, as we theropods vainly told ourselves, nor even for abstract principles of galactic stability and security. They fought simply because they found joy and meaning in killing for its own sake. Through them our civilization held doom itself at bay. Such was the gift and the curse of allying with Death's apprentices. Wherever humanity marched, annihilation followed without question or remorse, and all creation trembled at the coming of the naked flaming sword, which signing angels proclaimed mankind's true birthright. Fear not these masterless samurai. Only pray you never face them without the length of stars between, for they shall herald Armageddon's dawn wherever banner of man unfurls.